So I've spent well over 20 years studying sporting excellence, and I embarked on all this because I was once just a young lad like you who had this burning passion to make it as a footballer. You know, I can still see inside my head the goal and the plan that I had for myself in the future. And my idol at the time was a footballer, an Italian guy called Roberto Baggio, and it was my dream. I wanted to go and play for Juventus. I remember Juventus sold him, and I was really annoyed. I was like, well, I'm going to go there one day, and I'm going to wear number 10, just like he did. None of that happened, yeah, for lots of different reasons. But as they say, when one dream dies, another one arises. One door shuts and another one opens. And I became fascinated from the age of 15, 16 about performance. How is it that great athletes are doing it? Why is it that some athletes with all the talent don't go on and make it? So a big part of the beginning of what I did was my dissertation at university. And at that time, if you want to, it was more focused on tennis players, because I used to be a tennis coach, a tennis player as well. Football has always been my main sport, but I decided at university to specifically pick tennis because there's a national performance centre there. So I was working with a lot of the top tennis players in the country. And for example, we had a lad there who I worked with who was part of my research. He was the #1 ranked tennis player from the age of 11 through to 18. This is going back, 20 years or so ago. He was deemed to be the guy that Andy Murray became. That is what the LTA thought of this guy. As a junior, he was ranked in the top 20 in the world. He was beating some of the top players who went on to win majors, many things. Super talented. However, he had these flaws. He would do things that he just shouldn't be doing. He would go off the rails. He would get angry, he would get frustrated. A whole host of things, concoction of things that was going wrong for him. And obviously at that time, 20 years ago, I was just at the beginning of my journey as to looking at what was going wrong. And I've spent the next 20 years finding out how I can help somebody specifically like him, not just in tennis, but in all sports. I spend most of my time working with footballers. That is the sport that I know most about. However, I have a background in all of it. I am also a PE teacher, and I've been a PE teacher for nearly 20 years. So during the day, I work at a school, and then in the evenings and weekends and holidays, I work with athletes, largely on one-to-one basis. And I've worked with 9-year-olds, all academy players, semi-professionals and professionals in football, in rugby, in swimming, a whole range. But I really love working with the younger athletes, because when you get things right at a young age, when you get into the good habits and good patterns at your age, it gets easier. The older you get, it can become more of a challenge to change them. But everything can be changed. And this is what has really blown my mind in the 20 years I've been doing this, is that how actually easy it is to change and develop and improve compared to what people would tend to think that it is. So a big part of what I do, lads, is working with athletes and helping them get control over their neurology, their mind. Our brain is a map of wires, and these wires extend all the way down through our body. This is our neurology, which creates our physiology. And every single thought that we have affects our physiology. Things that we see affect our physiology. So our sensory system is making up and creating our states of mind. So I'm sure you can remember, as I can still now, can you remember one of the best performances you've ever had on a football pitch? It will feel a certain way. You will feel a certain way. It will have looked a certain way as you're looking back at it right now, if you are remembering it. If you then remember a time when you didn't play well, where you really underperformed, that image inside your mind has been recorded, it's been stored as a memory, an emotional memory, like a movie inside your head. And the more you play, the more of these movies that you have. And the mind then takes, if you play football 100 times, 70 of them you played at your best and 30 of them you played at your worst, for example, your mind will store the 70 great performances in one location. And your mind will go, right, this is how he plays at his best. And there's a neurological map, a pattern created in your head, yeah, which is recorded and stored there. So your mind goes, right, yeah, after that game, it's one of those performances. When it's not quite working, things aren't quite firing, you're playing in a different way. And these movies, these memories are creating your states of mind. And what I have found is that the greatest athletes across all different sports, the thing that they are able to do more consistently than anyone, than the rest, for example, is to get into a peak state, to get that arousal level up to an optimum state. So some people call this optimum state the zone, some people call it the flow state. I prefer the flow state, okay? Because when athletes, and when you perform at your best, it will feel effortless. Your body will even feel a different weight. You will see the game differently. You will think differently inside your head. You will often not even have to consciously think about what you do. You'll sometimes do things spontaneously. Things that you might have never even done before, you might have never even practiced it before, but because you're in this optimal state where you're not too over-psyched up, if you like, and you're not under-aroused or under-psyched up or down, you can relax, but it's relaxed with focus. And I help athletes consistently get into this flow state where pressure is turned off. People say lots of different things about pressure, but I can assure you that pressure is self-inflicted. We create it ourselves. I have created it on myself in the past as well. I've done it when I was a footballer, when I was your age. I wouldn't even take a penalty because I had a fear of missing. I wouldn't take one. It took me years, yeah, to build the guts, yeah, to even do it because I was scared of it. I would feel that anxious that if me and my team got to a scenario where we had penalties, that my knees would start shaking, I'd get butterflies in my stomach, and then I was like, I can't do this. And I would be the leading goal scorer every single year. I could score goal after goal after goal. Did not want to be anywhere near a penalty shootout. And that is all down to fear. It's all down to anxiety. It's all down to what state of mind I was creating inside of my head to the point where I couldn't perform at that. So I can assure you that you can get control of that. And how you get control over that is through your thoughts and through what you're seeing. So all of us, whether you're playing sport or just living life generally, we live our life through our sensory system, through what you see, what you hear, then creates how you feel. So I'm sure you can all remember scenarios where somebody has said something to you. Somebody said some words and it lit that fire inside you and you got really angry very quickly. Somebody said something, the wrong thing at the wrong time, and it just, and you went. You don't even have time to think about how you've just gone from 0 to 100. That is a subconscious pattern. It's a subconscious mechanism that is built into all of us. It's called the fight or flight system. And when you're playing sport, if you get scared or anxious about playing, it will turn on the freeze, fight or flight mechanism. your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So if you imagine yourself stepping up and missing a penalty, which is what I was doing, then that is going to create an unpleasant feeling. It's going to get the adrenal glands and cortisol kicking in, and you're going to feel nerves, you're going to feel the butterflies in your stomach. That's what nerves is, that's what anxiety is, this uncertain feeling. And through these neuroscience techniques, which I teach athletes, I teach them how to take control over those feelings. And when you take control over your feelings, you can then start to take control over your thoughts, and vice versa. When you take control over what you're saying to yourself, you then start to take control over what you're seeing inside your head. And until you become consciously aware of this, quite often you don't really know what you're saying to yourself. Quite often you're not even sure what images you're making inside of your head. One of the things which happens with footballers, for example, with players who all of a sudden start to struggle scoring goals, it's a pattern which happens inside the mind. If they start to get anxious or feel pressure for whatever reason, in their head they blow things up or they shrink things down more. You will have heard the phrase, you're blowing it out of proportion. So that's like a Freudian slip for what is happening inside the head. You're blowing it out of proportion. That means that inside the head they're literally taking a picture and they're making it way bigger. So for example, somebody who's scared of spiders, I've helped people cure the phobias of spiders. One of the things they're doing is when they see a tiny little spider that big, inside their head they're seeing it that big. So anybody would be scared of a big huge spider like this. And the same thing can happen on the football pitch. You see a goalkeeper start running off his line. Outside in the real world he's this height, but it's entirely possible inside your head to make him twice as big. And then all of a sudden, if you've got a goalkeeper which feels like he's filling the goal, and then you're about to go and take a shot, then doubt sets in and you don't strike the ball properly. So I help people take control of this internal process, if you like. Okay? And try to get a video hooked up of showing Ronaldo. You probably didn't see it, but I'm always looking out for what these great athletes are doing. And in the Euros just gone by, Ronaldo took a penalty. Can't remember if it was in a shootout or just a normal penalty. And it's a big moment in the game. And he puts the ball down and you've got the goalkeeper moving along the line, the crowd cheering and the opposition trying to put him off. And Ronaldo is literally just stood here like this. And he's got his eyes fully shut. And you can see him breathing. And he just waits. And he makes everybody wait. He's stood there, his eyes shut in front of 70, how many people were there? How many thousand, if there was crowds actually? I'm not sure if there was or not, I can't remember. But he shut off the world, and I know without a shadow of a doubt in that moment, he's literally mapping out in his head a movie of him taking and scoring that penalty. This may be a technique that he has just intuitively taught himself over the years, but the odds are he's worked with some kind of mental performance coach to teach him that, because I know that there are quite a few top athletes who are learning some of these skills. So when you take the time to map out ahead of time how you want to perform, you can take control over your performance ahead of time. When you spend 20 minutes before you go and play, literally visualizing whatever it is that you, or however it is that you want to play, you can take control over your performance. If in your head you have played out how you're going to play a match 10 times, 20 times, and then go and play, you will literally feel like you can just step into the performance and the nerves go. Because your brain, your mind has done this 10 times before. Most of us who do something for the first ever time will feel nervous. But if you've rehearsed it 10 times in your head, 20 times, and if you've ingrained it into your neurology so that there's a memory ahead of time, it makes performance a heck of a lot easier. And this is because the mind does not know the difference between what you imagine and what is real.